Right, so we should be live. Yes, we're live now on Monday. So thanks so much everyone for joining in, and welcome to YouTube over there. Welcome to Facebook over here, and welcome to everyone listening on the podcast as well. We are, of course, live for the Startup Business Q&A, episode 71 today. So thanks so much, all of those of you who've put in questions over the last 24 hours. So something different today. And I'm trying to think about ways to kind of innovate and build a new, or rather edit and change the kind of the format we have. So every so often, we often do like a special or something. And what I'm interested in doing today is looking at questions that can focus on new business starters. So for instance, people who are just beginning to build a startup, those people who are just calling themselves entrepreneurs, who are just beginning to start something. And I've asked you guys, what questions do you think people would need to have answered if they were starting out? And it's easy. You just simply think about when you started, what kind of things what kind of things were on your mind and what questions needed answering. So loads of people have just jumped in here, so thanks so much. Hello to everyone. Hello Christine, thanks for the messages. Thanks to everyone who's jumping in here. And so today's session is very much focused on startups, sure, but for new people who are just beginning this journey. I've got a load of questions here from people, but from you, if you're watching or listening, if you're here on YouTube or on the podcast, you can always leave a comment on SoundCloud, or here, of course, on Facebook. Write in a question in the comments. Firstly, say hi, but then also write in a question that you think should be answered for a new startup business owner, so someone who's just beginning their journey. And let's get into those, because I think those kind of questions are often missed. And sometimes what you have in these sessions is you have people asking questions that are a little bit more advanced, and so that doesn't mean it's necessarily that accessible for people starting up. Now, the startup term, of course, is your startup as long as you're not coming for a fully fledged business. And for many people, really, being a startup is something that can last them for years. It depends really on how you justify not being a startup, I suppose. But if you have a question, pop one in here, and let's see if we can answer those as well. But basic questions that really, if a new starter to this world was watching, what would they need to have answered? That's the question we really need to be seeing. So let's start with the first one here. Is from John Brooker. I think it's important to test your idea before pursuing it. So how about this question? How can I quickly and cheaply test my idea? Now, what's difficult is that we could be talking about anything here. Some people are starting businesses that are road-based logistics companies, and other people are mining Bitcoin. So it's completely, a whole spread here of types of businesses. And I think the great answer to try and encompass all people, because I can't really handle this directly for you, John, is to look at the concept of the MVP. So this is perfect for new starters. The MVP, really simple, is a minimum viable product. It is a functional product, not necessarily well polished at all, but one that is working and so can be used in the market as a form of testing. So what I'm saying here is, if, for instance, I was to make a new type of bike, then I would make a functional prototype of the bike and get it in the hands of potential buyers. If I can do that, then I can start testing and seeing how the market responds. It's tremendously difficult to create an artificial market for you to test your product in. And so really what this question, in my opinion, represents is actually, it represents people holding themselves back and saying, I'm scared about how the market's going to react. How can I make sure I completely cover the downside and kind of mitigate any potential risk here? The reality is you can't, because you'll never quite know. It's like, you can see, if you do Forex trading, you can get a pretend trading account. You never really know how you're going to do and how you deal with the market until you actually try it in real life. Why? Because you're not simulating how your emotions are going to affect you, as well as being in the real market as well. So to answer your question here directly, John, I really feel you test your idea by doing the minimum viable product, something that can just kind of start out and get it into the hands of people. If you're building a course, if you're you know, if you're offering a consultancy, something like that, just offer it, you know, for a beta test group or something like that. Get it to a small group and see what their reaction is. But this tends to suggest, a lot of people, I get this question a lot, it suggests that someone's a bit worried about getting themselves out there into the market. John, I don't necessarily suggest this is you, it's just that you've asked a good question here. I do feel that sometimes people need to jump and see how they fare, you know, because you're never going to know. There's no kind of secret incubator where you can test how things will work and then rewind the clock if things haven't worked out. Everyone, thanks so much for joining in, by the way. Aaron, thanks for your comment there. So it's so essential to understand that part of the process often of starting a business isn't just the fundamentals of getting your product and getting it in the hands of an audience. It's also getting yourself to a place where you'll recognize there needs to be some leaps of faith being made. So this question actually draws out some deeper issues, which is sometimes people are really concerned about even just putting themselves out there at all. And that's just something you've got to get over a bit, you know. It's interesting. I meet every week. I go to see different types of companies I consult with, often leadership, but also sales teams in the city. And you know, I fear myself sounding a bit like someone's granddad after a while, because, you know, I'm 37 and I meet these 22, 23-year-olds and they've got uncapped commission potential. They're working in a business where they've been paid a great basic and there's the opportunity for them to make thousands of pounds every week and go big. But there's so much fear. You can tell there's so much fear. They don't want to step outside of the kind of weird comfort zone they've got, you know. Why don't you come in earlier and start pitching? Why don't you stay later and pitch some more? There's a lot of herd mentality going on. Why don't they just jump in and see how it goes? Lots and lots of questions being asked before they've even got on the phone and started selling. It's very interesting to see that. And as I say, often this question is really down to one thing. Just get it out in the market and then see how it responds. Are you going to hit gold on the first attempt? Probably not. You know, statistically, people don't become a millionaire when they launch their first business. So what's intelligent is to probably think about, you know, beginning as part of a journey which may take decades, but enjoying the route as you go. Okay, that's the way to look at it. Thanks so much, everyone who thought jumping in here and throwing in the comments. But if you're jumping in from anywhere around the world, just put in also a comment where you're based as well. It'd be interesting to see where you're coming in from, because I think there's a lot of people all over the place. But thanks so much for coming in here, William. Hello there. Hello, Rukan as well. So there's my answer, John. I think the thing is, there isn't really a way to test your idea other than just throw it out there. How to do it quickly and cheaply? Do the minimum viable product. Don't spend loads of money on some logo unless it's a business that requires there to be some fancy logo. Don't spend forever on a gorgeous website unless you're doing a web development company. Kind of need it, right? But otherwise, you know, just get the raw thing that's working, start getting in people's hands, improve it as it goes, but you need to get that response and that feedback. Mona, hello, thanks for joining. Robbie, Frank as well, good to see you again, mate. Thanks so much for jumping in here. Everyone thumbs up if you're going to have a massive week. There's a lot of stuff flying around at the moment about people saying, do you know what, it's Christmas coming up soon, it's 4 weeks away, and they're talking about the new year. I've heard people talking about resolutions already. I've had several people now saying things with the additional part of in the new year, as if to say, in the new year I'll start this, in the new year I'll make that difference, make that change. You've got 4 weeks left, best part of a month, right? So you've got 12th of this year remaining, plenty of time to be doing something with it. Don't stop, don't have, and the thing is, if you say that, you start having this mentality of, oh, the year's over and you're looking ahead to the next year. Sure, do that, but really grind out the next 4 weeks. There's a lot you can get out of it. I really strongly suggest you have that kind of mindset, because that's where you get the edge. That's how you win over most people, really. Anyways, today's session is a very interesting one, because we're focusing on questions that people have if they're starting their business, like the first days and weeks. So if you've been around for a while, you're exactly who we need on this stream as well. Put in a question that someone might need answering in the comments here. Let's see, I think there's someone who put one in a little further up. Scrolling up. So Zach, thanks so much for your question. Hey Richard, a great question to answer is, what essential information or knowledge do I need after I've convinced myself my idea is a go? Capital G as well, like it. So this is a very good point, and I think a very good question, and I think that there is no actual number, because what we're really thinking here is, when do you feel comfortable to start? And it's a great question, because a couple of years ago, I remember putting a post out about this. You go when you can, not when you personally feel ready. That's the essential thing. So you find the information you need to start your business. If I was going to build if I was going to say, I'm going to learn how to fly by building my own airplane, the job I need to do is learn how to build an airplane. When I think I've kind of got enough, I need to start building the airplane, not learn all things about the airplane. That's the way to do it. Now, what most people, I reckon over 80% of people do, is they actually learn more than they need before they start. Okay, what you need to do is learn enough so you're saying to yourself, I know I could begin, but the problem is that you need to start at that point, rather than saying, but I won't because I don't yet feel comfortable. Feeling comfortable is this kind of fear thing you've got, probably of the unknown. If you've got such sparse information or knowledge that you probably are going to be really out of your depth, well, then maybe you do need to learn a bit more. But it's that thing of start when you're able, not when you're feeling ready. There's a massive difference. And a couple of years ago, I started building a sales team, and I'd launched that particular business proposition about 5 weeks, no, probably less, about 3 weeks before. And I remember so many people going, well, I think you're going a bit fast with hiring people to start selling it. It was like, no, I can, and the product is showing it can sell, so let's do it. If I'd waited until I'd felt comfort, I'd be there forever. You know, I'll wait until everything's feeling good. You know, and by the way, this is the disclaimer, I'm not telling people to quit their job, but it's the 9 to 5 quit the job thing. When I quit my job and decided to start a business, arguably it was the worst time to do it. I get 22-year-olds with zero responsibility in their lives who are questioning if they should quit their job and start a business. I quit and I had a wife, cars, properties, children, and it was like no money was coming in unless I generated. So arguably the worst time, a huge risk, but because I knew what I was doing, and I knew I'd back myself, I knew I would get a result out of it. So you know, if I'd waited until the right time, I never actually would have started at all. I'd still be in the company now, because there's no right, there's never a time when you just happen to have won the lottery and you've got loads of free time. You should just start, really. You should just start. If you can, you should. And that's a case of saying, right, what is it I'm setting out to do? How much runway do I actually need to get some clients coming in? Do I need 2 months? If I do, save 2 months worth of money and then go. Just start. Do you see what I mean? So that's not me telling people to quit jobs, but that is me saying, if I was in that position now, I'd be gone in an instant. I'd be thinking, how much do I need for like 2 months, or even one? Knowing myself, I'd say, how much do I need to cover 1 month? And it's surprising how little you actually need when it's rent or mortgage, food for the family, bills. That's it. You don't need anything else. So you kind of know how much you'll need. For some people, it's like $1,500. That will cover me for the month, right? So you've got a month to go make 1,500, and amazing things happen when there's no income and you have to go fight for it. So it's an amazing thing to try and do. I urge you to have that kind of perspective as well. Okay. Next question. So hopefully that helps. So thanks very much, John, and thanks very much everyone asking questions there as well. So Leon Nandra has said, it's a little abstract, but how do you stay patient? So this is actually a really good question for a new starter to business. Staying patient is essential, because you may really want to get started straight away, but it may take you time to actually get the result you need. And someone recently was saying to me how they're getting a bit disillusioned because they never thought it would be this hard, and in fact it seems to be getting harder. And the answer I gave was, look, this is why so many people quit. Again, it's that comfort zone thing. So many people quit because they're like, do you know what? this is just too much work for me. And so they never kind of push through to that point where actually they've worked out what they need to do and what things they need to drop because they're wasting their time, what things they need to really push on. And how you stay patient is actually really simple, but there's a really essential thing you need to do. The way you stay patient is you don't fall in love with the destination. Okay, you fall in love more with the journey you're on. Okay, so for example, if I was to go out and do something fun, let's call it, if you were to go out and do something fun, and that might be, I don't know, you're going to go go-karting, right? So you don't go go-karting and only focus on the end point when you've finished the race and you get your trophy and things like that. You go go-karting to enjoy the actual riding itself and being competitive and things like that. So you need to go into your business not just looking at being a millionaire or becoming, you know, building a business to sell or have an IPO or create a 8-figure business or whatever it is you might want to do or change the world in some way. Yeah, it's all great, but and they may be your kind of your North Star, your kind of thing you're aiming towards, but you've got to get into that driver's seat and think to yourself, I want to enjoy this journey now. Okay. When people go on a road trip, right, they often do it because they're looking at they're going to enjoy the scenery, and the scenery is your journey. It's the ups and downs, and it gets perverse after a while that you genuinely, and I'm genuinely, if I'm honest, I'm like this. I'm like, I look forward to a day when I have both things going well, but also challenges too, because that's the fun that I'm really into. I'm actually genuinely enjoy the difficult times because that requires me to step up, dig deep, and I really find out things about myself when I have the difficult times. I quite enjoy it. And there have been times years ago where I've said this so many times years ago when it's like, if I don't find 1,000 quid today, I can't pay everyone's wages. And I can't, you know, there won't be enough money for nappies for the baby. There won't be enough money for the cars. Do you see what I mean? Things like that. And it's like, some people will fold at that point, but they're the moments where I really start to shine. And they're the moments, they're the moments where it's like, the romance for me is in there. The romance is in that part. Okay. Give me a heart if this resonates with any of you. I'm not expecting necessarily all of you to do it, but if this resonates, if this makes sense. But the romance for me, and I remember this feeling way back when I was at school still, when I was at university, and at that moment I had, well, that moment in a particular year when I was doing my master's degree, I remember I'd be in the library. The library was always open very late, till like 11 o'clock, and there would be no one there, and it would be like all the lights are out because there were sensors on them, and there was just this little lamp over my desk and the books everywhere, and I was working my face off, and people would be out clubbing and things like that, and I was like, I was in it, like in the, like I wasn't up against a deadline or something necessarily, but I just wanted to have such a great result. I wanted to be the best in that year and get the best, you know, the best grades and things like that, because why not be competitive with it? And what I really loved was being in that moment where I really was like enjoying the journey. So the romance was there, even though it was actually work. And so many people look at that and like, oh God, you're working. I would rather be on a beach. It's like, if I had all the money in the world, I wouldn't be on a beach. I would be doing stuff with myself. And I think that's my point here. So to kind of draw this to be practical, to answer Leon's question on how to be patient, it's easy to be patient when you love the journey you're on, when you love every single day. I couldn't wait to start today. And that was something I really wanted to build when I left my 9-to-5, as I wanted to build a Monday, especially a Monday, that I could not wait to get to. And I had the moment, I get it almost every week, but I had the moment yesterday. So it was on a Sunday. It was like, awesome, it's Sunday today. Because there was a moment, I think I thought it was a Saturday or something, but I was like, it's a Monday tomorrow. I mean, because it's Sunday today. Awesome. That means I get to do this. I get to do this. Most people have this thing where they say, I've got to work. But I was genuinely like, I get to work tomorrow. I get to do these things. I've got these cool things laying out. I can't wait to do it. And so I have all the patience in the world because I really enjoy each day that I have built for myself, because there's some new things in there. And the moment I look over the horizon and I'm like, I think I might get a little bit stagnated if I keep doing that. It's like, what do we bring? How do we bring, you know, something new in here? What can I throw in as something new? And that's what keeps it interesting, you know. So I think you can be patient if you enjoy the thing. You have to be patient throughout. A long car journey or a long, you know, a perfect example actually is a long flight somewhere. Imagine if I was, you know, like, so earlier this year I flew to California. I flew into San Francisco. That's like a 12-hour flight or something. Sitting on a plane for 12 hours, many people are like, man, this is so boring. How on earth am I going to be this patient to go through it? I could not wait, because I was like, that's 11 hours where I can't be contacted. I can build content, I can read books, I can do so much stuff. And just the thought of getting ahead was amazing. 2 weeks ago, I was in a hotel in Ealing in West London, because I had a black belt exam that I was on the panel for the following day. And there's another example of it. I couldn't, when I finished work, I could have hooked up with people for drinks or something, but I could not wait to finish work. When I finished work with that client, could not wait to get to the hotel so I could get the laptop out, because there was so many great things I'm doing at this particular time with my business. So I just couldn't wait to get into it. So patience is never an issue, because I'm just enjoying the journey as I go. And the more you do that, the more you end up getting paid enough that you don't have to worry too much about, you know, am I going to pay the bills and things like that. So that's really essential. Coming off that question there, we've got William, who's asked something very similar here. Richard, do I follow my gut feeling over proven information or well-known practices? Give me a bit more information there, William, so just to pad it out so I can be clear on what you're really asking. Do I follow my gut feeling over proven information or well-known practices? Look, there's a saying I'm kind of using more and more. I don't know if I've made it up or not, but there's no wrong or right. There's what works. Okay, that's all that matters. And certainly nowadays, you know, there's just so many different ways of looking at things. So there might be proven on information, but your gut feeling is usually fairly right. But it depends on what it is. Gut feeling on Bitcoin is an interesting thing to look at, because your gut feeling is going to be hugely thrown against the wall with this hype that's being thrown at it at the moment. So what's your gut feeling really based on? It's quite a difficult one. A lot of proven information is usually a good thing to go with, but the people who really win, I've spent so many years looking at people who have gone to the next level. I was rereading the Elon Musk biography by Ashley Vance recently, for instance, and it's just complete lack of regard for conventions and doing it their way seems to be the thing that pops them out on the other side. And I suppose what you have is you have the masses as an average. They follow the proven information and the well-worn path. Then you have the people who try something off the wall, and they either drop into the ocean and don't get anywhere, or they pop out top and you know, they come out big. And so it's really difficult. And, you know, someone asked me the other day, for example, William, something along the lines of, you know, what is it you do to help your, you know, to kind of make sure that aren't you worried about your children getting good grades, or how do you make sure your children get good grades at school or something? And my response is, why do my children need to get good grades at school? Why does it matter? You know, does it matter at all if my children get good grades at school? It matters if they want to follow on that particular conveyor belt to go to a particular type of job that requires you to have certain grades at school. But in my opinion, the world's not quite the same as it was even when I was at school. And so as a result, if you desperately wanted to get somewhere, you have all the tools really to do that. And grades access a level or a set of types of jobs. It doesn't mean you only get a good job if you have good grades. That was how it used to be, you know, but now it's slightly different. And I'm excited for the future for my children. And what I want is two things from them at school. What I want from them is, firstly, that they understand how to communicate and socialize. That's the biggest thing. They need to understand people, okay? And the other thing is that they try to work out where their strengths are, and they focus on those things. So that would really help them the most. So good grades just doesn't matter. So it's interesting where the direction we've gone with this. William, you've provided a bit more information there. So do I follow my gut feeling over proven information or well-known practices, speaking as if I just first launched my first business? If you've launched a business right, it should be because you know or have a general feel about what you're doing. I wouldn't launch a brand new business building a mine, as in mining for copper or something. I could not tell you the first thing about it, other than probably I should dig a hole, but where? I don't know, because I've never done it before. But if I'm going to launch a business, it's probably based on some level or platform of things I might know something about. Someone sent me a video the other day, for instance, of a guy who has been creating YouTube videos on his channel. He's got over 500,000 subscribers, related to a flight simulator game, and he set this up like would have been almost 12 years ago, and he just went, he knows that world really well, and he probably now makes loads of money off it. It's because he's doing something he understands. So I'm working on the basis, if you have a general feel of what you're doing, just go. You go with your gut, because actually you're probably going to be right. And the thing is, if it was so formulaic, then everyone would win. But it doesn't work like that. If you look at the best people in the world, they still have problems. Amazon now is a huge business. If you look at all the successes it's had, but it still has had last week a problem in its Italian fulfillment center, where 500 people decided they want to strike over Christmas, and so as a result they've dropped the ball there. So my point there is that there's no getting it right always, and so going with your gut is often just as good as going with proven information, especially on the soft stuff. Okay, in terms of things like managing your accounts or something like that, there are different ways of doing it, and there's no one size fits all for pretty much everything. Okay, so you need to think about that. I think if you have a general feel about what you're doing, for instance, I was selling and building businesses for years with clients. So because I'd done that and I launched my consultancy, I was like, I'm just going to do what feels good, which is grab people and then show them why I can help them. And then because they realize that will help them, I then provide them with a service. And it was a bit of a mess in terms of how I presented it, because I was feeling my way in the dark. But actually I did fine, because I had a general grounding in what the area was that I was working. So that's kind of how I look at this. But anyway, thanks very much. I'm interested if there are any more questions based on starting a business right now. If you were brand new to it, what questions do you think should be asked? Because this is the kind of thing that could be used by by new entrepreneurs. That's the whole point of today. And there was actually another question from Leon Mandra. He said, when do you stop being a nice guy and go Machiavellian in technique? The Machiavellian, well, it's an interesting idea of being a little bit more aggressive. And one thing I would say, Josh, hello, Jonathan, hello. One thing I would say is that there's always a place for being a really nice, caring bloke. I think it really goes a long way. If you as a good tip here, if you haven't read Adam Grant's Give and Take, even not Give or Take. Adam Grant, he's a professor of marketing at Wharton. He's an award-winning one. He's like under 40 as well. It's crazy. And very kindly contributed to one of my courses a couple of years ago. And he's written a book, Give and Take, which proves really that those who really help and really give, the top level of successful people are at that level. They don't just take all for themselves. And I think, in fact, you can only get, the idea is that nice guys don't finish last. Nice guys can actually finish first. Depends on how you do it. So I urge you to read the book. But I think you need killer instinct, which can be honed, ironically, given it's called killer instinct. I think if you have if you are outwardly nice to people, that really helps. People can smell a mile off if you're trying to act nice to but to do something that's in your self-interest. Genuinely, if you go out there, out and out helping people, you get so much in return that I don't think you really need to be Machiavellian. I think you need to have, think you need to be savvy. I think one of the reasons why I've got ahead is because I'm a genuinely nice bloke that likes to give value to people, right? That's my kind of foundation. But because of really like 17 years working in business and closing stuff, because I was lucky enough to work in the sales world, I feel like I've got, I can sniff a deal out, I can see when there's an opportunity and I can take that. So that kind of instinct is something that's been honed, and definitely wasn't there when I was a child, but I think it's been honed over the years. And so I don't have to be Machiavellian at all. I think you need to be savvy, and I think I've got good common sense. I don't think many people screw me because I'm a good guy, and even if they were trying, I would sense it because I read people well. And so I suppose the answer here is you don't stop being a nice guy ever. There's no space for it, because if you're in a place where you feel you might need to be a slightly different person, maybe you're interacting with the wrong kind of people. And so going Machiavellian in technique, I think it's a little bit, it could be rephrased to stay nice, stay like a decent bloke always, or lady, but when you get opportunities, be quick to react to them. That's important to do it. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Daniel, thanks for your question here. Sorry, I'm not sure if you answered already, but do you have suggestions on audiobooks? Yes, depends on what you want to hear about. Is there anything in particular? I mean, if I was, actually go to my YouTube channel. I think it's Richard Moore Official. I should remember what it is. And if you go to the YouTube channel, there's actually a video. It's hit about 12,000 views now on the top 5 videos. Top 5 books for entrepreneurs. My advice, my suggestions on audiobooks. I am hugely, almost like to the point that I disregard a lot of other authors, a big fan of Seth Godin, and I think it's because he provides a very reasoned, logical, hypeless argument for doing things in a very intriguing way. And rather than following a convention, it's perfect, his kind of books for a new starter. So I would jump all over Tribes, I would jump all over Icarus Deception, I would be all over something like Poke the Box is a really good book as well. I think these are very good ones that should be read or listened to rather than audiobooks. In terms of audiobooks in general, I strongly advise you to get into audiobooks. You can just consume so much. I work through so many books every month. I have I've literally a whole wall of books here, and then these shelves as well. But I have so many books that I dip into. But if I go into my car or anything like that, my phone hooks up instantly and starts playing where I left off on an audiobook. So I consume several each month, and I do feel that because I'm not the kind of person that actually, ironically, I don't like to sit and read for hours and hours and hours. I'm on the go so much that actually an audiobook solves the problem of time that I just don't have enough of. And it means I can it's such a win because I get so much done with listening to books, but I also feel like I'm not using up any time. Because if I'm walking to the station, I might be listening to an audiobook. If I'm, between Instagram story shooting, or if I'm in a car and I can't do anything but listen and drive, then it's perfect, So that's what I would do. Ruben Kong, good question here. What's your advice about getting initial traction? I think the thing you'll understand is you've got to get your product out there, but initial traction comes from being aggressive with yourself about having intense levels of engagement. So initial attraction is not about trying to sell things. It's about trying to get audience. I really feel this. So if you want early traction, it's about getting people bought into you, not trying to force the product onto people, if you see what I mean. So I won so early with my first course, for example, and I hadn't even launched it because I was not aggressively in what I was writing, but aggressively in my attitude towards it, engaging with as many new people as possible. I was on Facebook doing it, and then I was on Twitter, and I was on Instagram as well. And so my advice is, firstly, go by Monetize You. It's on the richardmoore.com, and at the moment it's $97. It's like perfect for explaining how to do it. It's actually got the words you need to use. So that course is for new starters on how to actually, how to actually sell. But I would say, if you're going to get initial traction, you need to simply go into a group on Facebook that's relevant to your space. Okay. Connect with 20 new people every day. If you do like 50 plus, then Facebook starts having a problem with you. So 20 a day is enough, and start new conversations with each of them. Don't pitch them, just start new conversations. Hey, how's it going? Saw you in the same group. How's your day? And just have conversations. Out of the 20, 5 will be quite key and you have proper conversations with. 2, you potentially can move to when they say, here's actually what we're doing, you start getting traction. If you do that every day, that's 600 people in a month, brand new people that you're having conversations with. It's tiring, but that's one hell of a way to build an audience manually, one by one. That's how I did it. And it meant when I launched my first course, I had a queue of people who were ready, and in fact had already handed over their money to just go through the gates and start buying it. That's what I did. So in terms of getting that initial traction, it's about getting right down on the ground, in the crowd, and speaking to people. Yes, you can get ads out there. Yes, you can do SEO. Of course, you can do a podcast and hope people will pick it up. But nothing beats, in terms of effectiveness, not necessarily most efficient, but effectiveness is getting face-to-face, ideally, or really through messengers. Really effective way of doing it. You can just simply engage with people on an individual level. It's a great way of getting initial traction, because people then realize you're a good guy, because they're buying you, of course, not the product. So regardless of how great your product is, that if they're bought into you, they'll be keen on the product. That's just how life is, because we're dealing with humans here. You get initial traction by really spending time with people. So like, you're a really good guy, is what they're thinking. I like you. What is it you do then? And then they find out about you. Oh, that's quite valuable. Then you've got your opportunity to close there. Okay, so it really is simple, but you've got to get right in there, in the crowd. It's as simple as that. Seriously, 20 new people. Go try it. If you haven't done it before, do it for 2 weeks and tell me after 2 weeks that you haven't got opportunities. 20 new people in more than one Facebook group. Don't go out and out pitching them, just have conversations, and then the time will be right. You'll just sense it when the conversation leans towards what you're doing and they ask. And then don't expect everyone to love you or to want to buy your product, because you're not that lucky. And spamming everyone's going to kill you, and then you've got a reputation, and then you're screwed. So what you need to do is take your time, be gentle, have a nice conversation, get a connection. When they like you, when they give you a compliment or something like that, say, hey, you seem to know quite a lot about this. That's your opportunity to show them what you do. And then suddenly you have traction, and you have people then, quite keen on what you're doing. But it doesn't happen overnight. 20 a day for 2 weeks. If you think about that, that's 14 days, 280 new conversations with individual people. That's how you get people to buy your product. Imagine speaking with enough people like that. That's how you make sure that you get people starting saying hi, okay, and starting saying, I'm interested in your product. Simultaneously, of course, check out ads and things like that, but this is the way to make sure of results. You just get results that way, because by sheer weight of numbers. Let's just scroll down and see what other questions we've got. So many people jumping in here, so thank you so much. Everyone, thumbs up if this is making sense. You may have noticed, if you were here last week, we actually have a new microphone. After many years of service, the last one broke, so you can actually hear me, hopefully, as well. Ruben Kong has also asked, would you recommend watching Tai Lopez videos? Well, like anything, it depends, right? That's my caveat before I answer, because should I stop saying it depends? Because it's not really, it's kind of a given, right? Ruben Kong, you got a really good question. Would I recommend watching Tai Lopez videos? If you want to see how in 2017 you can market to the masses, then yeah, you should check out Tai Lopez's videos. If you want to see how he does a call to action, structures a video, yes, use Tai Lopez videos. As for what you might learn, you probably will learn quite a bit, because the guy, there's so many ridiculous websites about how he's a fake or a scam or whatever. The reality is Tai Lopez wouldn't be where he is unless he's making some amount of revenue each month, and as a result, he must be fairly aware of what he's doing. So My response about Tai Lopez is that you should check him out if you're interested in that space. It's interesting when I see a lot of marketers say, "Oh, he's ridiculous, he's like so fake, he's so crap, and all the girls dancing around me." It's like, but that's because you're a marketer, so you know what he's doing. Majority of people that Tai Lopez is actively trying to target are responding to that. He's got a lot of research probably done on who his target audience is, and he's probably saying to himself, if I can target this certain demographic, what do I need to put in front of them? And you can probably work out his target demographic because he has fast cars, he has people who make money, it's all focused on money, and he has lots of very good looking people around him. And if he puts those two things together, that is catnip. That's catnip for certain demographics. If it's not your thing, if it's like, oh, it's really cringy, I can't stand it when there's all of the women in bikinis around him, well, it just goes to show that you're not his target demographic then. It's as simple as that. So for the people he's targeting, okay, which you can work out who they are and the kind of mindset they've got, he's probably doing a great job. And so if you are trying to target those types of people, then there's your template. Okay, so yes and no, Ruben. If you're going to try and target university professors on how, I mean, this is a big thing people have talked about recently, and no one's really moving into it yet, but talking to university professors or academics on how they can become consultants and really help people with their knowledge in the private space, then you know, you wouldn't use a Tai Lopez approach necessarily. You might want to tweak it slightly. The fact is he's trending. Maybe was a bit more a year or so ago, but he's still doing pretty well. And there's plenty of people watching him. So if people, you know, if he's getting traction, then you should probably maybe look at what he is doing. But that's my advice. Would I watch his videos? I don't, is to be honest. Have I watched his videos? Of course, in the past, because it's worth looking at what other people who get attention are doing. So, and you know, ultimately this comes back to the point I made before, is you need to get audience. Really, the problem of most startups is actually they don't have you know, an abundance. They don't have any people aware of them. The obscurity is their big problem. What they should be doing is focusing on how to get attention. Okay, and that's why you might want to watch Tai Lopez. He's on Snapchat a lot. Grant Cardone is too. There's plenty of people out there who are doing well on Snapchat, so check them out. If you want to look at who does, you know, how do you hack into getting great results on YouTube with the masses watching you and really being in the epicenter of culture right now in 2017, then it's PewDiePie and it's Markiplier and it's people like that, because they're hacking it and they're getting, you know, they'll put out a video and it's 500,000 views in a day or so, and it's this mind-blowing amounts of attention, and it must be down to what they're doing. So you've got to look at that. So yes, based on if you need it or not. And it's interesting that, you know, it's a bit of a can of worms here, Ruben, you're asking this question, because this is the same answer I give for reading books. That's like when people say, should I read The Intelligent Investor? Where is it? It's over here somewhere. It's up there. Ben Graham, I use this example all the time. I've read it because I actually invest in stuff. I've spent lots of money over the years investing in shares, investing on the stock exchange, investing in other things as well, investing in companies. So I've found it really valuable. The problem is people say, starting a business, so I should read, right? Thumbs up if you agree with this, by the way. Starting a business, so I'm an entrepreneur. Not necessarily. Entrepreneur, so I should read books. I should read books. So what are the fashionable books I should read? I'll read The Intelligent Investor because that looks right. That looks good, right? And that's not necessarily true. Do you need to read The Intelligent Investor? Well, you read the books you need to read. You don't necessarily need to read The Intelligent Investor unless you're going to be investing. Okay? Big old waste of time if you read books that aren't going to be of any use to you. It'd be like me reading a book on how to speak Swedish. Don't need it. So, I mean, I could read it if I've created a reward-based system where I've earned some time to myself and it's a hobby and I want to learn Swedish because I want to go and live there, then fine. But from a business, if I'm in real estate and I'm not going to work in Sweden, I don't need to learn about Swedish. And it's exactly the same point here. If I'm going to go and build a business that's in healthcare and wellness, why would I read Benjamin Graham's The Intelligent Investor? Because it looks good and it trends well on Instagram. Not really a good reason to do it. So I think this is obvious, right? But it's the same for Tai Lopez. Do what's necessary for you right now and for your business. That's the way I look at it. So let's go see if there's another question. Thanks to all the comments, Jonathan, Ian, Jonathan as well, and Daniel, Matan. Great value. Thank you, everyone. I'm just checking everyone's got any more questions. So look, thumbs up if this is making sense. Just to finish up, we'll do another question here. But if you have any questions for a startup business owner who's just beginning, what questions should they have the answer to? That really is important. So pop that up and we'll answer that, because this is about saying, imagine you're new to the space. What things do you really need answered? And that's what we're trying to cover here. So if you have any questions for those kind of people, stick them in the comments, we'll answer them. And also those of you who've also just joined recently here on YouTube, also on Facebook, I'd love to hear whereabouts you're from as well. One of the greatest things is knowing that people on a Monday morning, they get out of bed and they watch the live stream, and it's on a Monday to start the week with this is seriously flattering. It feels like a responsibility as well, but it's very flattering. So all of you that do that, and I know there's a load of you, I really hope this is good value for you as well. Let's look at one more question then. So Devon Scott's asked, it's a good question I stressed over as a newbie. When into running a business, should I worry about protecting or copywriting or trademarking my brand, my logo, or processes, especially if my consulting reveals that custom process to a client? So I suppose what you're asking here, Devon, is if I have a process as a consultant that I'm going to reveal by working with them, reveal to a client, should I trademark or protect that? My answer is actually no. I think that's over the top. Now, the lawyers amongst you, and I'm married to a lawyer, by the way, the lawyers amongst you might think I'm being very, very negligent by saying that. But I think when you're starting out, I think you need to get over it a bit. Just what I mean here is that any lawyer will tell you, especially an IP lawyer or a trademark lawyer, they'll say, no, you need to be getting a trademark right away. But in the real world, you might have an exception, and you might be that guy that gets that bad anecdote because someone screws you and takes your process. But the delivery of your process is probably optimal when you're the one delivering it, because it's your process. So for instance, people could do some consulting with me. They could take my kind of buyer service where I consult with them. They could then see how I work with them, package it and sell it themselves. But what they're missing there is that whilst the process is a valuable one, it's also me that people are buying. And the thing is, Devon, that I think it's a good question, but I think you don't need to overthink at the start. I think you need to recognize that most people will never bother taking your process, because what people aren't buying usually is the process. They're usually buying the outcome. A client will be buying you and your process to achieve something for themselves. If someone out there is so much of an asshole that they're buying your process to find out your process so they can sell it, you know what? They probably would have done it anyway or found it at some other place. Ultimately, should you trademark or brand your product, officially copyright and protect it? Well, then maybe you should. But I've always said, look, there's enough business to go around. There's always enough people out there. And if someone tries to copycat you, how many people out there have probably tried to be Tai Lopez and done something similar? There's probably another variant of the 67 steps, for instance. And, it doesn't really matter, because Tai Lopez will have his audience, and then those people have theirs. And probably he'll do a good enough job with his, and they'll do a good enough job with theirs, but they probably won't overlap. You're not going to lose all your clients because someone else takes your process, because probably the reason why you got your clients in the first place is they bought into you. And so I think it's a really important thing. Having said that, there are going to be exceptions, of course, where a trademark or copywriting is actually essential because of the kind of work you're doing. So go speak to someone appropriate about that. But if this question is suggesting that there be, and because I think I know why you're asking it, there be a fear on the part of newbies of, oh, should I protect everything because it might all get stolen? It's like, let's go and do something with the company first and take it from there. And the reason why is because there's so little in the way of action at the start for most startups. This is my experience over the years, and it needs to be action. You need to get on with it. That what you find is that time and massive amount of money can go into setup, when in fact statistically your business isn't necessarily going to fly. And so you're going to need to be agile over the years. You'll start one. If you look at me 3 years ago or so, it was all about the 8-step startup product. Now it's not really a feature. It's not even on the new website. I'm looking at there's a new course, by the way, that I'll be putting out before Christmas. There are other things you're doing, and so 8-step startup was a thing, and then we move on to the next thing. And if anyone who tried to create the 8-step startup, well, good luck to them, and if they try and copy all of my content, well, I'm in it, and all my stuff's time stamped. And if it was a massive copyright issue, if it was like, wow, this person's going to make millions off me, well, then it's kind of obvious that I was there first, and we could take it further. But I just think at the very start, we're looking at the first few weeks and months, just get over that. Focus on generating interest from the buyers, focus on getting sales out the door, getting market research through testing in the market. And then you can focus on things like copywriting and trademarking. But I think it's a little overcooked to do that. I don't think it's entirely necessary, is my opinion. There will be exceptions where that is necessary, but in the main, it's just not going to be. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for asking all the questions, everyone who's joined in here. I'm so pumped about this week. There's a lot coming up, and I think we're in a great place when it's a case of saying 4 or 5 weeks till the end of the year doesn't mean we're at the end of the year now. Sure, it's nice to feel festive and get into the zone about Christmas and things like that, but what really is a good idea is to say, head down. This is the point where we get ahead. It's a wonderful feeling when people start easing back a bit, because you can feel yourself taking advantage of of that gap then. So think about doing it. Think about saying to yourself, do you know what, if I've got 4 weeks, if I work really hard, I can really win, or I can sit back and finish my year early. And all of you, those of you who've already hatched ideas about things you want to do in the new year, try starting them now. Just see what happens, okay? See what happens when you start the diet now, or the gym now, and by now, I don't mean kind of this week or something, literally today. If you have an intention to do something, so then just go and do it, okay? Because as I said to someone recently, the turn of the year rather, so into the 1st of January, is an arbitrary thing. It's just that we have structured it into a calendar, and it looks neat to start things on the 1st of January. We happen to be the same position we were that time last year when we were around the sun, but nothing really is actually changed. If you look at it in terms of days, what's the date today? Something like the 20, I think it's 27th today, or 26th. We're looking at like 5 weeks to the end of the year, 35 days. Why exactly in 35 days is there a strategic business reason for me to start something? There probably isn't. And so if there isn't, just start now. If it feels neat, then you're doing a comfort zone thing. This goes back to the point of earlier. If it feels neat, it's a comfort zone thing. Whereas if you can start now, just do it. Okay, so ideas and things that come into your head, oh, that would be good, I could do that, so start now. And it's amazing how it's a big turn off. I massively switch off when I hear people talk about what they're going to do. Really soon I'm going to be doing this. Really soon I'll be launching this product. Really soon, it won't be long, I'm going to be doing this soon. I'm thinking about doing this. I'm so bored instantly when someone says that. It's much more interesting when someone's saying, I had an idea about this, so I've started it, and here's what's going on. It's far more interesting, because the people who talk about doing things with intentions, the kind of people who say, well, it's the start of the year, I'm going to let everyone kind of get back to work. I'll wait. You know what? I'll wait till the end of January now, because it's it's the 22nd. I might as well wait till I'll start this at the beginning of February, and then there's always something. Doesn't happen. Now it's Easter or whatever, and now it's a holiday. It's just silly. Just start now. If you can, then do. Don't wait until you want to do something. Wait until you can do it. There's a big difference. That bit's scary, but gets you the traction you need, to answer your question earlier, Ruben Kong. Thank you so much, everyone, joining in. Give me a thumbs up or even a heart if you enjoyed this. If you hated this was rubbish, then give me an angry face, but write in the comments why. I'm not asking you to try and find the reason why, but if you really didn't, then fine. YouTube, thank you. Facebook, thank you. Podcast, thank you. And I'll see you all really soon. And have a great week and a massive Monday. You take care, everyone. Love to you all. See you later.